I'm Russell Prowse, and today I'm going to go over arriving to logical conclusions using Aristotelian logic. So I'm sure you're all familiar with what the Crusades are. The Crusades was a war fought between the Christians and the Muslims between Holy Land and Jerusalem. So if we use religion as A, and if we call the Crusades, which is B, we can ask ourselves a question, should we ban religion because it caused war? So let's look at this question through Aristotelian logic. Aristotle was born in 384 BC and he died around 322 BC. He wrote the Organon, which is a book based on, logic that used inductive and deductive reasoning to arrive to those conclusions. So we're going to use an example using a base equation from us. If all dogs, which are A, have legs, which are B, and all legs, B, have C, toes, therefore all dogs should have toes. One way to write it is A equals greater than B, or A is greater than B is greater than C, therefore A is greater than C. So another way you can do it is the exact same equation we just used, but we're going to replace the words with things that make absolutely no sense. And the fact is that even though we know it's not true, it still is logically possible. So if all dogs are butter, and if all butter are unicorns, all dogs must be unicorns. So even though, like I said, even though we know all dogs aren't unicorns, we do know that based off of that conclusion, if dogs are butter, and if butter are unicorns, then dogs are unicorns. Logically, even though it doesn't make sense. So let's go back to our original scenario. If A is religion and B is war, should we ban A? Well, using Aristotelian logic, there's another one, C. And according to Runciman, according to Runciman, Peter the Hermit was one of the very first people who started the Crusades by motivating nearly 100,000 people to go to a fight. So if Peter used religion to cause the Crusades, and we removed religion, it was to say that Peter couldn't use something else to motivate people to go to war. So let's try this again with a different scenario. If A is a hammer, and B is a window, and C is a bad guy, and C uses A to break B, let's say we remove A. Couldn't he still use, once again, something else to cause some damage? So we can understand that A is a tool, that B is the effect, and C is the one that causes the effect by using the tool. So let's look at another scenario. This is the last one, I promise. So let's say B is a good guy, C is a bad guy, and A is a gun. Oh, can you see where I'm going with this? So it's obvious that A is a tool used by C to cause B. And I know a lot of you have heard, about removing guns, trying to ban them, whatever it is. But the fact is A is just a tool. A gun is just a tool. It can be replaced with many other things. So I propose to you that instead we try to remove C. It's going to be a lot harder to find another bad guy, or another bad guy, or another bad guy. There's not as many of those as there are guns. So I know, like I said, a lot of you may have some emotions, strong emotions about how you feel about guns. And according to Jung, there's a study that shows that whenever you're feeling emotional responses, it lowers your chance to arrive to logical conclusions. So you might say, well, taking away C is going to be really hard, and finding the bad guys is not exactly something that's going to be easy to do. It's true. But according to Floridian, a study in 2009, that's a fallacy called a fallacy of incredulity. Just because the solution is hard or not possible or not probable, doesn't mean that it's not the correct solution. So I'm asking you guys today to start thinking of ways that you can remove C. Talk to your friends, start brainstorming. Like I said, you can sit here right now while you're thinking about different solutions on how you can find how you can find the person who's going to cause those problems. We have mental health background checks. You can make them mandatory. I know there's a lot of people that are arguing about confidentiality, doctor-patient confidentiality and don't want to have their mental background checks brought up. But it's something that you might have to consider because of that. Background checks on private sales is something that's not required right now in a lot of states. It's something maybe that needs to happen. Figure it out. That's what I'm asking you guys to do today is start thinking, instead of agreeing with everybody else, you know, why that we need to get rid of guns, start thinking about getting to the root of the problem. Because getting rid of guns is just going to be another tool that can be replaced later on down the road. If you don't know anything about guns at all, Glenn Utter wrote a book called The Encyclopedia of Gun Control and Gun Rights. It gives you just about everything you're going to need to know to at least make some sort of an informed decision. Use your logic, use your intelligence. Don't just copy everybody else. Don't buy into, you know, a stupid argument because it hasn't been thought through all the way. Play the devil's advocate if you have to. These are my references.